What is up, gamers? M107 here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're here to cover up the whole patch note for update 6.2 of Battlefield 2042. We've been waiting for this one for quite some time. No exact date of release, but we do know that it's going to be somewhere this week. This update is going to bring a lot to the table. Major buffs and nerfs, a ton of fixes for various issues like the black screen, the hit registration, and so on, alongside some changes to vehicles and their HUDs. So yeah, the thing is huge, and the video is probably going to be a relatively long one. Just before we get into the details, I want you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content, and make sure to hit the like button. It is a huge favor, and thank you all for doing that. And the link to the full patch notes is down in the description. If you want to check it out, feel free to do it. Starting off with a rather weird part of the patch notes, which promises some kind of new mode in the coming weeks. It goes like this. Protocol established. A band of misfits, spurred on by the penguins, been crafting an interesting treat as we approach the end of the year. Expect to see new ways to play, new cosmetic rewards, and a mischievous mode in the coming weeks. Looks like DICE has finally realized that nobody enjoyed Kill Switch and they're planning on another event. Probably a Christmas event. I mean, that's a reasonable approach. Maybe not, but it doesn't really matter. I just hope they come up with a better, more entertaining event than Kill Switch, because that thing was one hell of a failure. It was really bad. I guess we all agree on that. Anyway, to all MCS lovers who are dominating in Redacted and almost every other map as we speak, I've got some bad news for you. They decided to finally put an end to this one-shot kill party of yours, and we're gonna see some huge nerfs for the MCS. The reason for that is obvious, but let's hear it from the devs. With the recent introduction of a pure close quarters map and Redacted, player feedback highlighted that the MCS was performing beyond expectations, and we agreed. This was particularly creating unfair instances of one-shot kills at longer ranges. Going forward, one-shot kills will no longer be possible over 25 meters with the MCS, and it will be rarer to do so between 20 to 25 meters. Additionally, the number 4 buckshot ammo type performed the strongest at almost all ranges with update 6. This will now be reduced to its intended short range role. So that's good news for me. I've personally used the shotgun for a while. It was really entertaining. Like, everybody likes to have a one-shot kill shotgun, right? But it was really not towards the fair play of the game, and I do believe that we had it coming. We all had it coming. That nerf was on its way from the first week of update 6, where everybody was just making videos about this MCS shotgun being a one-shot kill dominator. So yeah, I do believe this was a very positive change, and we're going to see how things work out. G428 will be nerfed as well, even harder than the MCS. This thing was overpowered. We all knew this would come, and it's coming hard. So the 2-hit kill range for the G428 standard issue will be reduced from 40 meters to only 20 meters. Huge nerf, and there will be an all-new 4-hit kill range of 125 meters, meaning that you will now need to hit targets 4 times if they are 125 meters or further away from you. Just a quick reminder that these numbers are for the standard issue ammunition. DICE claims that the high power ammo will remain viable at longer ranges. However, the 2-hit kill range for high power will be reduced from 50 to 40 meters, so that's also nerfed. Believe it or not, that's not the end for this weapon. Vertical and horizontal recoil will be increased. Stability will be slightly decreased when burst firing in full auto. Maximum full auto dispersion will be increased by 15%. That's a lot. And dispersion per shot will be increased by 7% in both semi and full auto firing modes. Aim down sight time will be slightly increased, meaning you're gonna need some more time to ADS. And that's it. DICE has absolutely nerfed the living life out of this thing, but I think it will still remain strong. It's like the G36. In every single patch, they somehow nerf this thing, and it's still one of the strongest assault rifles out there. Believe me. Moving on to VHX-D3, DICE says we've received mixed feedback, with some of you being for or against its damage output. While we continue to monitor and tweak this weapon, we have decreased its starting accuracy and increased its dispersion buildup in response to players feeling it's packing too much of a punch. So to go in depth about it, what they did is that they've decreased initial standing accuracy and increased dispersion per shot. DICE hasn't provided anything else, no numbers nor percentages like G428, but I believe if you're accustomed to the weapon, and especially if you think that it packs too much of a punch, that won't change with some accuracy nerfs. I mean, as long as the damage output stays unchanged, it will still do the trick, right? Super 500 will receive some tweaks in damage and dispersion, making it more consistent and allowing it to deal higher damage in over 10 meters, but less chance to get a one-shot kill from that distance. The Super 500 is one of the secondaries that I love to play with. It's really fun to play. And those one-shot kills in over 10 meters were quite enjoyable. I mean, I just had it coming, right? I was like, bro, this thing is so powerful. Why is nobody playing it? So here we go. Finally, it's being nerfed, but the damage output in over 10 meters will still increase, which means it's kind of a nerf, but a kind of a buff as well. So we have to wait and see how things will work out for this weapon. And for the G36, damage over 100 meters will be decreased from 22 to 20 per bullet. With every single patch, they just nerfed this a little bit more, and it's still among the best. I believe something similar is going to happen for the G428, unless they decide to do something ridiculous like decreasing the damage by a great extent or something like that. That was it for the weapons. There are more changes to many weapons, but there are all bug fixes and not really worth mentioning, so if you want to read the whole thing, the link is in the description. Moving on to vehicles, we have some quality of life improvements, especially for air vehicles, alongside some balancing changes that we're going to go through. The most important one is called computed impact points that take into consideration several factors, including vehicle velocity, angular velocity, gravity, and drag, to draw an accurate impact point of up to 300 meters. This feature will perform as a reliable impact point on vehicles with one weapon, such as on jets. However, air vehicles that feature two weapons, like the Nightbird, will perform slightly different. Why? Well, because they now calculate the distance between both weapons and somehow make a more reliable impact point. The whole idea behind this is to make it easier for pilots, especially jet pilots, to know exactly where their bullets or rockets are going to land. Plain and simple. By the way, I'm not a pilot, but I've seen how hard it gets to hit targets from long ranges, so things might get a little easier, at least for the less experienced people. And also for air vehicles with a gunner and a pilot, the HUD will improve in a way that they both can communicate without having to say anything. Literally a battlefield norm before BF 2042, and now they are adding this to the game. DICE says, the vehicle team have been working on bringing a feature from previous titles into Battlefield 2042, where the HUD will now feature aim indicators which will highlight the direction of aim for the gunner and pilot. As a gunner, this should now help orient yourself in respect to the direction that the pilot is heading in, and it will also allow for the pilot to understand what your current properties are when it comes to engaging with ground targets. It's actually disappointing how this game is still being developed after more than 2 years, because even the developers themselves admit that this feature exists in previous Battlefield titles. Anyway, about air vehicles, we've got some more changes and I've selected the important ones for you. Fixed an issue causing prone players to take less damage from vehicle blast damage, which is kind of weird, but it's going to be fixed, by the way. And the crosshair will be aligned with the impact points on all cameras for all air vehicles. So this means that if you're playing in third person, in first person, it doesn't matter your camera view, this computed impact point will still do the trick, and your crosshair will be exactly on the impact point of your bullets or rockets. So I believe that's what it means. And it is time for suppressors. Finally, they did something about them. So for those who might not be familiar with this, suppressors work differently in Battlefield 2042, and you being seen on the minimap or not while using a suppressor depends on 3 factors: the type of suppressor that you're using, the type of ammo that you're using, and your distance to your enemies. With Update 6, they messed up suppressors so bad that so many players actually stopped using them. Now things are getting a little bit better for those players and they might reconsider. Here's how things will work after this update. For light suppressors, players won't be seeing you on the minimap in 30 meters and further when you start shooting, simply meaning that if you start shooting and someone is 35 meters away, they can't see you on the minimap, but if another player is 25 meters away, they can see you on the minimap. That's as simple as I can put it. If you use light suppressors with subsonic ammo, players won't be seeing you on the minimap in 15 meters and further as you start shooting. For heavy suppressors, you will be invisible to enemies who are 15 meters away from you or further, which means it performs exactly like the combination of light suppressors with subsonic ammunition in terms of minimap visibility. And lastly, if God forbid you decide to use heavy suppressors with subsonic ammo, you will be completely off the radar in any range to your enemies, meaning that you will be invisible on the minimap all the time. DICE actually made it so complicated that some people were absolutely confused about this part of the patch notes. The comment section on Twitter was a whole mess, and I guess some people were right. They just didn't use the correct term for this. This is the sentence in the patch notes. heavy suppressors will now benefit from minimap stealth from 15 meters and below. I mean, 15 meters and below? That's really not true. In fact, that's the exact opposite of what they meant. You get minimap stealth in 15 meters and further, not below. That's got a lot of people confused, and I guess they need to address this before it causes more drama. And finally, I've got some general changes worth mentioning listed for you that we will go through one by one. The moving platforms on Spearhead, which could be a pain in the butt from time to time, will not kill you anymore. Thank God. Fix the camera snap into the vehicle when colliding into certain objects at high speed. This could be really annoying, like you have to experience this in order to feel the pain. And finally, incorrect descriptions for suppressors on portal weapons will be fixed, which I've suffered from this personally a lot. We all know that Battlefield 2042 weapon stats are just trash, completely useless. Even though the stats are just simply trash, it's even worse on like portal weapons. And that's really good to be fixed. That's all about the patch notes, but it's not the end. Hang in there for a second. You remember the major issues we were promised to get a fix for in this update? Black screen, hit registration, AI matchmaking issues, and all of that? There is not a single word about them in the whole patch notes. Not a single one. And I'm afraid that my guess about DICE not being able to address all the issues in time was true. Right now, the black screen issue is so frequent that it doesn't really let me play the game. You might not believe this, but it's been 2 straight weeks that I just stopped playing the game and waiting for this update to do something for me. The black screen issue is like a plague. You either experience it or not, but if you're unlucky enough to get it once, the damage is done. I've made a video explaining the major problems in depth, and it will pop up on the top right corner. If you'd like to know more about them, just give this a look as well. And that's all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed and hope it was helpful. I've tried going in depth about update 6.2 and mention everything worth your while. Again, if you want to read every single detail, link to the patch notes is down in the description. If you're still watching this, it means you're enjoying the content to a degree, or at least it was helpful enough, so consider subscribing to the channel because more videos like this are coming soon. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay cool.